Hello, I'm Gemma Atkinson and welcome to the Petcast, brought to you by leading pet charity Blue Cross. This episode is all about finding the right pet for your lifestyle.
Anytime someone's applied and want a specific animal, it always starts just with a conversation, and it starts with us finding out what their vision and their dream pet is.
This is Kaylee Hill, who manages Blue Cross's rehoming centre in Manchester. It's one of the charity's 34 rehoming services across the UK. Kaylee tells us how they match the perfect pet to the perfect owner.
If we were looking to match pet to someone who have younger children, ideally we'd want that pet to have thrived in that environment previously and know that they're not just tolerant of it but really comfortable and are going to enjoy that busy family lifestyle. And it's just about setting it up in the right way.
And that's what we do on the Petcast. We have candid conversations around the big issues facing pet lovers like me and you, with some of the UK's leading pet experts on hand to give us their best tips, tricks and guidance. So I'm here with Kaylee. Kaylee, welcome to the Petcast. Thank you for joining us. So it sounds like you are the real matchmaker when it comes to rehoming animals. You're like Tinder for pets. Tell me about what it is you do.
So I'm currently managing a rehoming centre for the Blue Cross that's based in Manchester. Mm-hmm. And we're a relatively new centre, been there about a year now, and we rehome a variety of animals for people, usually when the circumstances have changed unpredictably. Yeah. So anything through from really tiny hamsters that we've rehomed, all the way through to bit bigger dogs and cats and dagoos and rabbits and everything in between.
Thank you. You cover all areas of pets. I imagine, I have 2 dogs myself, so I know how difficult it is to have pets. And I know a lot of people seem to think, I can have a dog, I can have a cat, it'd be easy, What, before someone got started in wanting a pet, what are the main questions that you would be, wanting them to ask themselves before they even thought about, taking on the responsibility?
Yeah, I think first question you should be asking yourself is how much time do I have and to give that animal, and also, not just throughout the week, but at weekends. How often do you go away on holiday, for example, is something that people often don't factor in
and consider.
And do you imagine your pet going with you on holiday, or if not, have you got friends, family that can look after them, or if they're going to be going into a boarding establishment, that links into have you got the finances available to pay for that? And also, there's lots of other costs associated with preventative vet bills and also
the insurances and things. It's almost like when we go away, we leave Norman and Ollie, my dogs, we leave them with my mum, and it's perfect.
Yes.
But when my mum worked, we had to put them in kennels, like you said, and it was essentially like paying for 2 holidays, a holiday for them, and you're getting all their food and everything sent, and then a holiday for yourself. So it is a massive, massive responsibility.
It's a lot.
And with regards to work, people who work 9 to 5, what would be the ideal pet for someone who's out of the house from 9 to 5, but they do want that companionship and, comfort at night?
Yeah, I think, so for example, at the moment we've got a cat on our website called Oscar, and he sounds like he'd be potentially a good match for somebody like that because we'd recommend he had free access to the outside through a cat flap whilst the owners were out during the day at work. Yeah. And that is exactly what he loves to do. Just explore, run, jump, play outside all day, burn off all that energy, but then equally he does enjoy that human company. So when they came in from work, in his previous home, he's enjoyed spending time on his owner's lap and having some affection too.
So it's more so, I guess, cats are very more independent, much more independent than dogs, aren't they? I suppose a dog or a puppy, for example, you couldn't leave on their own for that long. It wouldn't be fair, and you come home to a chewed house, I would imagine, as well.
Well, that's it. Yeah, younger animals, certainly, we don't recommend leaving for more than 4 hours at a time. Puppies or kittens, to be honest. And yeah, just because you work, as you say, it could be, we wouldn't rule you out for a dog. You might have a neighbour who's happy to pop in and break the day up for them, or there's places, pet sitters, things like that. So we're flexible and there's ways around things. But on the whole, I think as you say, if an animal and dogs, social creatures, are used to being with people a lot of the time,
they want to be with you, don't they?
They can end up, showing that frustration in ways.
Taking it out on the couch.
Yes.
And where my friend works, Natalie, she's able to take her dog into work, into the office. Yes.
It's
a pet-friendly office. Is that something you'd factor in if someone said, look, I really want this animal, I do work 9 to 5, but I'm able to take them in and they can sit under my desk? Is that something that you'd consider?
Yeah, and I think it's so good now that more workplaces are becoming open to pets in the workplace. I think there's still considerations to be had. So, for example, you need to think, if I'm taking a pet into the workplace, are there going to be other pets there? So, and in which case, is my pet going to be expected to be social with them? And then we would factor that in when we're matching an animal, whether they're social or not. Are they going to be able to have their own space? But yeah, it works really well for people, and in terms of the benefits for the other people in the workplace too, it can
Cheers
be a real big stress buster. Yeah,
definitely. As soon as I see an animal, it instantly perks me up. And what about regards to, obviously, I think when people come to rehoming, they think about themselves. They're like, oh, we want this hamster, we want this dog, we want this cat. And then putting yourself in the animal's shoes, it must be daunting for them to come from what they've considered their comfort in your sanctuary, and then they're meeting the whole new family. So what about families who have, children or pets already? It must be much more specific on what animal you allow them to go to.
Yeah, so that's where the history taking that we'll have done and the behavioural assessments really come into their own. So, for example, if we were looking to match pet to someone who have younger children, ideally we'd want that pet to have thrived in that environment previously and know that they're not just tolerant of it, but really comfortable and are going to enjoy that busy family lifestyle. And it's just about setting it up in the right way. So, making sure you've had that conversation with your children so that they know how to appropriately handle the animal.
Don't be prodding it and pulling its tail and stuff, things like that.
And just get them to see it from the animal's perspective. A really big key message is to give the animal the choice to come to you, and as long as they've got that choice to move somewhere if they don't want to or come, and the children sort of understand that not all animals like to be cuddled like a teddy all the time. Then it can work really well.
One thing I know people do have to factor in, I know myself having 2 dogs, exercise.
Yes.
I mean, cats, like you say, they're very independent. They'll go and exercise themselves. They'll go out in the day and come back. But I think especially with a dog, you have to be able to take it out and walk it, don't you?
Yeah, and that's one of those questions you should be asking yourself is, how active am I? What do I imagine my dog walk to be like? Do I imagine it a sedentary potter around, around the local streets, or am I someone who want to go jogging for miles with my dog at the side? Do you imagine your walks to be a social thing where your new pet can play with other dogs, or again, is it going to be more quiet, solitary on your own? So it's going to depend where you live as well. But we really need to factor in both what you imagine as the new owner and what that pet needs, and a lot of that will be down to its breed as well. Certain breeds, imagine a husky, they're bred
it's going to want to run, isn't it?
Running, pulling a big sled over hundreds of miles of icy ground.
And then you get a little sausage dog, you'll be like, nope, I don't want to run anywhere, I've got little legs.
Spot of rain outside and I'll stay by the fire, thank you.
I think I'm more Dachshund than husky. And then finally, when it comes to finances, again, I think a lot of people, when we got Norman and Ollie, we got all the new dog beds and we got them a crate, we got the toys, we got the food for a full week, and we were like, oh, we've done it. And then you think, no, as time goes on, it's the chip, it's the insurance, it's the vet bills, it's the worming, it's the fleas, and it's more toys and it's more food. It is a huge expense. So when people always say to me, oh, I'd love to get a cat, or I'd love to get this, I always say factor into your finances a big chunk of it, because they are expensive, and God forbid if anything happened, it's even more so for the vet bills.
Yeah, and I think one common pitfall or sort of myth is that a smaller pet is going to be a low-cost option, and that's really not the case. If you take rabbits, for example, it's really important that you have the space and the money to invest in suitable accommodation. Gone are the days where rabbits are forgotten about in a hutch at the end of the garden.
They need a run now, don't they?
Yeah, and not just a run, but it has to be a run that's high enough for them to, hop and jump and express all those natural behaviours. And really, they should have constant access to that run rather than people thinking, they can go into it for a couple of hours, then back into the hutch. They should have access to that all the time. And tunnels, it's really fun having a rabbit if you're inventive with the enrichment. But even with that, don't think the initial setup and then you leave them to it. You want to change things to keep it interesting.
To clean them as well. Clean the new. When I worked with Debbie McGee, she's got 2 rabbits.
Oh yeah.
And she is literally, her house is kind of built for the rabbits. Wow. She's got the tunnels coming in the house, going out into the garden, back in the house.
Yeah.
She says they have practically the run of the place. And she said they're so they sit on a knee in the evening, and she said she'll pet them like a cat or a dog, and when they've had enough they'll just go back. And I said, do you not just have them like in a hutch now in the bottom of the garden? She says, oh gosh no. She said foxes can come in, you've got to essentially home them but protect them as well, even though they're outside and stuff on their own. They still need your protection with things.
That's right. And I think one really nice way to have rabbits if they're in the garden is as a Wendy house setup.
Oh, nice.
Especially if you've got often children will want them as pets, but they're not as they don't always enjoy handling as much as you might think, or if they do, they prefer often to have the feet on the ground. And so a Wendy house means that the children can go in and sit and be with the rabbit without. If you think a rabbit's a prey species, so for them to be lifted up and petted while in the air,
for them.
They're going to feel overwhelmed with that. So if your children can sit and, like you say, let them come to them, the rabbit can keep the feet on the ground. It can work really nicely.
What are the benefits of getting an animal that's rehomed as opposed to, say, a kitten or a puppy or a baby animal essentially?
What I would say is older animals, their personality is more established, so you kind of know what you're getting a bit more. And also if you're rehoming, then you have that assurance that the place you're rehoming from has really asked all those questions about its history and what its likes and dislikes are. So you've got that assurance that you're going to be right for that
doing
pet.
The right thing.
You know that it'll have had background vet checks, so you'll have more of an idea of the kind of medical issues you may be taking on if that's something that you're open to. And also, for example, Blue Cross, if you do adopt a pet, they will provide behavioural advice and ongoing support for the rest of that pet's life.
Oh, brilliant.
So if you encounter problems, however big or small, we really encourage people, don't feel worried or like you've failed in some way. Just ask us, because that's what we're there for, and and it's normal for things to crop up, and it's nothing to be ashamed about. It doesn't mean you've done something wrong.
But we might
human. Exactly, and we might have just a little tip or trick to just help you get back to where you want to be and stop that relationship breaking down. And
I think as well, from a conscience point of view, it must be so rewarding to know that you've given an animal another opportunity, because I think with animals the thing that gets me is they're so forgiving. No matter what background they've come from or what circumstance, with the right care and treatment and rehabilitation, just like humans need, really, there's the trust again. So I think if you're that person who, you're sitting looking at your cat in the corner and think, that cat's come from the most horrendous background, but now he's here taking over my house, he's plump as anything in front of the fire, it must be such a lovely feeling, to know that you've done something for an animal. Yeah,
I have to say that is by far and away the most rewarding part of my job is, when as we've seen an animal go into its new home, maybe, as you say, might be a bit underweight, need to put some weight on because of the background it's come from, or have other issues, and then to get those updates from the new owners, send the pictures through of them chilling out on the sofa or on the beach. Some people send us videos and all sorts. It's just it just really makes everything
when you see them living the best life. And is there a waiting list normally for rehoming? What's the average time for someone to go through the process of the checks and stuff?
So I'd say there's always a waiting list for people wanting to rehome their animals. There's a big demand that way. In terms of if you're wanting to adopt an animal, most people will apply for a specific pet on our website, and it will depend on how popular that breed is. You know, for example, if we put a Labrador on the website, we know we're going to get hundreds of applications. Yeah. Again, we tend to find older animals will get less applicants, and so you might, if you're open to an older animal, be more successful quicker. Yeah. So it really does depend. But I would say to people, you know, just because you're not successful the first time, don't let that put you off rescue.
There'll be another one for you.
And it's always worth doing a follow-on phone call to the centre just to say, look, I applied, I didn't, you know, I wasn't successful for this one, but I'd really like to talk to you about the type of pet I'm looking for, and then we'll have that discussion. So you're in our mind then the next time one comes through the door that we think, oh, actually, I remember so-and-so, let's call them if they're still looking. Yeah. We think they'd be great for each other.
I suppose people have to see it as kind of like a job application. Sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. And the reason it doesn't is because you weren't right for that particular role. But it doesn't mean you're not good at the job.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what people need to consider. You know, they don't need to feel disheartened by it. What they're doing is a really good thing.
Completely.
And what about for people, for example, my uncle, he loves animals and he would love a dog, but he's forever saying, you know, I've not got the time to commit to it fully. But he does miss a dog walk or the companionship. Do you do it where there's a foster option, like in between rehoming? What happens to the animals then?
Yeah, so if he lived, you know, within the vicinity of a rehoming centre, I'd say definitely get in touch, because more and more now we're trying to come up with flexible options for people like that. So we have, for example, B&B foster roles available, where if somebody works, they can take a dog home for the evening from our centres and then drop them back the next day, which is lovely. It means they have a night away from kennels, get that positive experience outside, and then but that foster volunteer can still go about doing what they normally do. Or even like we'll have people that take them for the weekend to give the dogs a break as well.
Nice.
Which works really well.
Oh, that's brilliant. They can have a little trip away and then come back a little bit fatter, like we all do. Before we go, Kaylee, you've been great to speak to. Thank you. What would you say if you could put some lists out there of the do's and don'ts for people who are listening to this and now thinking, oh, I want to do it, I want to be a pet owner? What would be the do's and don'ts for them?
Okay, so I'd say big do is consider rescue and rehoming. As we've said, there's a lot of benefits to that. Do your research. So most people already have an idea of the species of pet that they like, but then breed can be really important too. So do your research on that front and think, you know, if you might have grown up with collies with your family on a rural farm somewhere, but now be living in the middle of a city and think, so although you love collies and the look of them, you know, they're probably not right at that point. That comes onto a don't. So don't make your choice and decision just based on looks, because that will lead into potential problems later on. Don't impulse buy, as you say, online rehoming of animals has led to a lot of that. So avoid that. And do make sure that all members of the family are committed and really involved and want the pet, because you know, it may be that your 10-year-old child really wants a guinea pig, but then you've got to ask yourself the question, 5 years on, when they're 15,
still going to want it?
If their interest has waned and that guinea pig's still living for another couple of years, do the adults in the household, are they motivated to keep up the care?
It's got to be a family decision, really, hasn't it? And a family animal, a family pet. So thank you for all that you do, and good luck with the rehoming of Oscar and many more. And thank you so much for talking to us today.
Oh, it's been lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's it for this Petcast, but there's tons more information on our website, bluecross.org.uk. So whether you've got a moggy or a mongrel, a Syrian hamster or a Shire horse, Blue Cross have got you covered. If you've enjoyed the episode, feel free to share it with a fellow pet lover, or write us a review on your podcast app, which will help people find it more easily. I'm Gemma Atkinson. The Petcast is a Bengal media production for Blue Cross.